There's a moment that happens quietly, almost imperceptibly, when a woman stops seeing you as just someone she knows and starts imagining you as someone she wants. It doesn't announce itself. There's no declaration, no shift in her behavior that feels dramatic or obvious, but something changes. And if you're paying attention, really paying attention, you'll notice it. She might be sitting across from you at dinner. The conversation is easy, nothing unusual, but her eyes linger on you just a fraction of a second longer than they did last week. Not enough to make you stop mid-sentence, but enough that you feel it. Or maybe you're walking next to her and she moves just slightly closer than necessary. Her shoulder brushes yours. It could be accidental, but it doesn't feel accidental. These are not grand gestures. They're not the kind of signals most men are trained to look for, but they're the most telling. Because fantasy doesn't begin with action. It begins with imagination. And imagination is invisible until it starts leaking into the physical world through small, quiet shifts in energy, attention, and presence. When a woman begins fantasizing about you, she doesn't tell you. She doesn't flirt overtly or make her intentions obvious. Instead, she starts to behave differently in ways that most men either miss entirely or misinterpret as politeness. But these shifts are not random. They're not accidental. They're the nervous system's way of revealing what the mind is too cautious to say out loud. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 of those silent signs. And by the end, you'll understand exactly what to look for and why the deepest sign, number 9, is the one that reveals she's no longer just thinking about you. She's feeling you. Let's begin. Before we look at the signs themselves, you need to understand how female fantasy actually develops. For most men, attraction is linear. You see someone you find appealing, you feel desire, and if the opportunity arises, you pursue it. The progression is straightforward. But for women, especially mature women, fantasy operates differently. It's slower, more layered, more internal. A woman doesn't usually fantasize about a man the first time she meets him. Fantasy requires familiarity. It requires emotional safety. It requires a foundation of trust and comfort that allows her mind to explore possibilities without feeling threatened or exposed. This is why fantasy often develops with men she already knows, men she's spent time with, men she feels safe around, because safety gives her permission to imagine. And once that imagination begins, it doesn't stay abstract. It starts attaching itself to real moments, the way you laugh, the way you speak, the way your hand moves when you gesture, small specific details that her mind replays when you're not around. Fantasy is anticipation. It's the space between what is and what could be, and that space is where desire lives. The key is this: a woman who's fantasizing about you isn't necessarily looking for you to do anything dramatic. She's not waiting for you to declare your intentions or make a bold move. She's simply allowing herself to imagine what it would feel like if the distance between you closed. And that internal shift, that private permission she gives herself to wonder, is what creates the signs you're about to learn. So let's look at the first layer. The first 3 signs are subtle. They're the earliest indicators that something has shifted. And they all fall under the theme of curiosity. When a woman begins fantasizing about you, she becomes more curious about you, not in an obvious question-asking way, but in how she observes you, how she responds to you, and how she positions herself around you. The first sign is eye contact that lingers just slightly longer than it used to. This isn't the kind of eye contact that feels intense or deliberate. It's softer than that. She looks at you while you're talking, and instead of breaking away after a second or two, her gaze stays. Not in a way that feels uncomfortable, just in a way that feels different. You might notice it mid-sentence. You're saying something ordinary, and she's looking at you as if she's listening not just to your words, but to something beneath them. Her eyes are steady, warm, and when she finally looks away, it's gradual, not abrupt. What's happening psychologically is this. She's studying you, not consciously, necessarily, but her mind is collecting details. The way your expression shifts when you talk, the warmth in your voice, the small gestures you make that she didn't notice before. She's building a mental catalog, and that catalog feeds the fantasy. The second sign is that she replays your conversations. You say something offhand, something you don't think twice about, and days later she brings it up again. You mentioned you used to go hiking every weekend. Do you still do that? It seems like a casual follow-up, but the fact that she remembered it at all is significant. When a woman is fantasizing about you, she doesn't just hear what you say in the moment and move on. She takes it with her. She thinks about it later. She wonders what it means. She constructs a fuller picture of who you are based on fragments you didn't realize you were giving her. This is how emotional intimacy is built in her mind before it's built in reality. She's imagining the version of you that exists when no one else is around. And the more she knows, the more vivid that version becomes. The third sign is subtle mirroring. Mirroring is one of the most unconscious signals of attraction. When someone is emotionally drawn to you, their body begins to match yours without them realizing it. She might lean in when you lean in. She might match your tone when she speaks. If you cross your legs a moment later, she might cross hers. This isn't imitation, it's synchronization, and it happens because her nervous system is attuning to yours. When a woman mirrors you, it means she's not just present with you, she's emotionally aligned with you. Her body is reflecting what her mind is already doing, imagining what it would feel like to be closer. These three signs, lingering eye contact, replaying conversations, and subtle mirroring, are the foundation. They're curiosity in motion, and they tell you that she's no longer seeing you casually, she's beginning to see you privately. If this resonates with you, subscribe to Femme Psychology with Emma. We explore the psychological shifts most men overlook. Now we move into the second layer. These signs are deeper. They're less about curiosity and more about attachment. When a woman reaches this stage, she's not just imagining you, she's emotionally imprinting on you. Specific moments, specific details, specific feelings are beginning to anchor themselves in her mind. The fourth sign is that she remembers small, seemingly insignificant details about you. You mentioned once months ago that you don't like olives. And now, when you're at dinner together, she orders a dish and quietly asks the server to remove them before it's brought to the table. You didn't ask her to do that. You barely remember mentioning it. But she does. This is not about being polite. This is about the fact that details about you have become important to her. She's paying attention in ways that go beyond surface-level interaction. When a woman is fantasizing about you, the small things you say don't disappear. They settle into her memory, and they resurface later as quiet acts of care that reveal how much mental space you're occupying. The fifth sign is that her tone softens when she speaks to you. Tone is one of the most revealing aspects of attraction. It's almost impossible to control consciously. And when a woman's tone shifts around you, when it becomes warmer, quieter, more gentle, it's because her emotional state has shifted. She might speak to other people with a certain energy, direct, clear, efficient. But when she talks to you, something changes. Her voice drops slightly. Her pacing slows. There's a warmth in her words that wasn't there before. What's happening is that her nervous system is relaxing around you, and that relaxation allows vulnerability to surface. She's not guarding herself the way she does with others. She's letting you in. And that softness, that tonal shift, is one of the clearest indicators that she's no longer just interacting with you. She's feeling you. The sixth sign is lingering energy after your interactions. You finish a conversation, you say goodbye, and instead of moving on immediately, she stays for just a moment longer. Maybe she lingers near you. Maybe she asks one more question that doesn't really need to be asked. Maybe she just stays. This is not about awkwardness. It's about reluctance to leave. When a woman is fantasizing about you, the time she spends with you doesn't feel complete when it ends. There's a pull to extend it, to stretch the moment, to hold on to the feeling just a little bit longer. And that reluctance, that subtle resistance to walking away, is her body's way of revealing what her mind is experiencing privately. These three signs, remembering details, tonal softening, and lingering energy, are signs of emotional imprinting. She's not just noticing you anymore. She's attaching to you. Now we reach the third layer. This is where the shift becomes internal in a way that's harder to observe but unmistakable once you recognize it. The seventh sign is that she begins introducing hypothetical scenarios. She might say something like, If you were planning a weekend trip, where would you go? Or, what do you think makes a relationship actually work long term? On the surface, these seem like abstract questions, but they're not abstract to her. They're invitations for you to reveal how you think, how you move through life, and how you might fit into hers. When a woman starts asking hypotheticals, she's no longer just living in the present moment with you. She's mentally exploring the future. She's imagining scenarios. And she's testing whether the version of you in her mind aligns with the version of you in reality. This is fantasy becoming more specific, more detailed, more personal. The eighth sign is that goodbyes feel heavier, not emotional in an obvious way, just weighted. There's a moment right before you part where the air feels different. Her eyes hold yours just a little longer. Her smile lingers. The energy between you doesn't dissipate immediately the way it used to. What's happening is that leaving you has started to feel like a loss. Not a dramatic one, just a small, quiet pull that she feels in her chest when the interaction ends. And that pull is the clearest sign that you've moved from being someone she enjoys spending time with to someone she doesn't want to stop spending time with. Now we come to the ninth sign, and this is the most important one. The deepest sign that a woman is fantasizing about you is that she stops evaluating you and starts experiencing you. Let me explain what that means. In the early stages of attraction, a woman is assessing. She's watching. She's measuring. She's asking herself, consciously or unconsciously, whether you're safe, whether you're stable, whether you're someone she could trust. But at a certain point, if everything aligns, that evaluation stops. She's no longer watching you to decide if you're worth her attention. She's simply present with you, relaxed, open. Her guard is down in a way it wasn't before. You'll notice this in her body language. She's no longer sitting upright, alert, carefully managing her posture. She's leaning back. Her shoulders are relaxed. Her breathing is slower. She's comfortable in a way that signals she's not performing anymore. You'll notice it in her silence. She doesn't feel the need to fill every pause with conversation. She can sit with you in quiet, and it doesn't feel awkward. It feels natural, and you'll notice it in her energy. There's a softness to how she moves around you, a fluidity. She's not trying to impress you or manage how you perceive her. She's just there. This is the sign that fantasy has moved beyond imagination and into embodied experience. She's no longer thinking about what it would be like to be close to you. She's feeling what it's like. And her nervous system is responding to that feeling by opening, softening, and relaxing in ways that only happen when someone feels genuinely safe and desired. This is not something you can force. It's not something you can rush. It's the natural result of consistent presence, emotional attunement, and time. But when it happens, it's unmistakable. Because a woman who's experiencing you, not evaluating you, has already made a decision in her mind. And that decision is that you're no longer a possibility. You're a presence. And presence is what fantasy becomes when it's ready to be real. Fantasy is one of the most private, subtle forms of desire. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It reveals itself slowly through small shifts in energy, attention, and presence that most men either overlook or misinterpret. But once you understand what to look for, once you recognize the layers of curiosity, emotional imprinting, and private imagination, you'll see these signs clearly. And what you'll realize is this: attraction at this level is not about what you say or what you do in any given moment. It's about the cumulative effect of who you are over time. It's about whether you make her feel safe enough to imagine, steady enough to attach, present enough to experience. Those qualities cannot be performed. They can only be embodied. So if you want to know whether a woman is fantasizing about you, don't look for dramatic signals. Look for the quiet ones, the lingering gaze, the softened tone, the reluctance to leave, the shift from evaluation to experience. Because those are the signs that tell you she's no longer just thinking about you. She's feeling you. And feeling is where everything begins. If this resonated, comment below which layer you've noticed before. I'm genuinely curious. And subscribe to Femme Psychology with Emma for more insight into the psychological dynamics most people never talk about. I'll see you in the next one.